Welcome to Proven and Probable, where we focus on metals, mining, and more. I'm your host, Maurice Jackson. Today, we will highlight a junior mining exploration company that has been quietly unlocking mineral value in Argentina. I'm speaking of ABRAPLATA Resource Corp, trading on the TSXV symbol ABRA and on the OTCQB symbol ABBRF. Joining us for a conversation is Willem Fuchter. He is the president and CEO of ABRAPLATA Resource Corp. Before we begin, allow me to convey to our listeners that ABRAPLATA Resource Corp is a sponsor of Proven and Probable, and that we are proud shareholders of ABRAPLATA Resource Corp for the virtues we will convey in today's message. Mr. Fuchter, welcome to the show, sir.
Well, thank you very much for having me, Maurice. I'm looking forward to talking to you, both you and your listeners. And I would like to start off by wishing you all a very festive season, and I look forward to following up with you for your listeners in the 2018.
Well, thank you, sir, and we look forward to hearing from you as well. Willem, for first-time listeners, who is ABRAPLATA Resource Corp, and what is the thesis you're attempting to prove?
Well, as you mentioned, ABRAPLATA is a brand new company. We're not even 8 months old yet. We came out of the gate on the TSXV in late April, and our principal project, which is the Diablillos silver gold project in northwestern Argentina, is what we believe is an exceptional property. And I think this project alone not only underpins our current share price, but it's going to support a share price much higher than we currently enjoy. And not only do we have this principal project, but we've got enormous growth potential. First of all, there's organic growth on the Diablillos property itself, our principal project. But on top of that, we've got 3 porphyry projects, copper, gold, moly porphyry projects, all in Argentina. And so we see an opportunity to see some tremendous growth possibilities with the rest of our portfolio as well.
Now, for our subscribers, we wanted to share the ABRAPLATA Resource Corp story with you because we believe that ABRAPLATA's expansive portfolio has enormous value that luckily, and I state this luckily for our listeners, the market has not recognized. Mr. Fuchter, let's do a compare and contrast for someone new to the story. Per ounces in the ground, how is the company trading relative to its peers?
Well, thank you for mentioning that. It's certainly been one of our bugbears that we have not yet received the recognition of in the marketplace of the tremendous value that I think our portfolio brings to the company. We believe that a lot of that is because we're completely unknown to most of your listeners at this moment in time, being essentially a new company. We're currently trading under $10 an ounce in the ground. Our principal project, Diablillos, we have an indicated resource of 1.9 million ounces gold equivalent. It's actually a silver gold deposit rather than a gold deposit, but we're casting it as gold equivalent, just so that you can get some idea when comparing it to some of the other gold-rich precious metal deposits. So we're currently trading at about $10 an ounce in the ground, whereas many of our peers, companies with resources in the ground with the same sort of market cap range that we have, they're on average trading at about $60 an ounce in the ground. In our peer group universe, we also have 2 other companies that have got resources in Argentina, and they're trading at $60 an ounce in the ground and $54 an ounce in the ground, respectively. And so you can see, what tremendous opportunity there is for growth in the share price in ABRAPLATA, but also, quite importantly, that those companies that operate in Argentina do not have much of a jurisdictional discount, given that the 2 other companies that are in Argentina are trading very close to the group averages as a whole at close to $60 an ounce.
Well, that certainly is trading at a discount relative to your peers. Now, let's find out why this is the case. Your projects, they're located in Argentina. Willem, for listeners that may not be, or may be a little apprehensive, I should say, with regards to Argentina, is this a good jurisdiction to be in?
Very much so now. It wasn't in the past. And I'm sure that many of your listeners will know that 2 years ago, we had a change in administration here in Argentina. Prior to that, Argentina was considered a bit of a pariah and did not have access to international markets. And so things were economically quite slow here. With the arrival of the new administration in 2016, what we've seen is a lot of the problems that Argentina was facing due to the actions of the previous administration. Those have all been settled, and the direction that this new administration has taken certainly is giving a lot of international investors room for thought, and a lot of companies are either coming back to Argentina or are starting to invest in Argentina. I think this has been particularly well confirmed by the fact that we've just had midterm elections here in October this year, and the current administration has been returned to Congress with even more representatives than it did at the initial election 2 years ago. So that all bodes well for I think for both the project and ourselves. I also think that what large changes we see here in Argentina is that local investors are now putting money into Argentina, as well as into the mining industry. Argentina does not have a long history of mining. Really, mining took off here in the 1990s, and most of the mining investment was undertaken by foreign companies. We're starting to see changes there, and a lot of Argentine businesses are now seeing the opportunities in mining and are starting to focus on mining. So I think that bodes very well for the future of mining in Argentina.
I have a multi-layered question here for you. Give us the name again of the flagship project and what part of Argentina that is located in, but also give us some historical references.
Our principal project, as I mentioned, is called Diablillos. It's an epithermal silver gold deposit that's located in the province of Salta in northwest Argentina. Now, many of your listeners may know that the Fraser Institute of Vancouver in Canada has an annual survey where they look at the perception of the various mining jurisdictions throughout the whole world. Salta currently enjoys the position, the prime position of being the most mining investment friendly province of all the mining provinces in Argentina, and it's well deserved because they are very supportive of mining and they have put in a lot of infrastructure to support mining. So I think that's pretty exciting for us. Salta lies in northwest Argentina, and the project itself lies in the region called the Puna, which many people know as through the Bolivian term altiplano. It lies at 4,000 meters above sea level, and it's sort of basin and range type of topography, much like what you get in Nevada, except perhaps a little higher. It's high plains desert, so there's not much precipitation. As a consequence, during the winter, there's very little snow, so we have access to the project throughout the whole year, and we can work at the project all year round. So that's also a strong positive. There's a good network of roads in the area, albeit all-weather gravel roads, And we're lucky enough that we're in an existing mining camp. And the importance of that is the fact that that mining camp over the years has dragged a lot of infrastructure with it. And for example, I mentioned Salta being a very supportive province. The Salta government actually put in a north-south gas pipeline providing gas to the various operations that exist in the mining camp. Most of those operations are either lithium or borate operations, but in their wisdom, the government also put a number of tee-offs on that pipeline where there were advanced projects, and there is actually a tee-off allocated to Diablillos. So as you can see, there's relatively good infrastructure, although it is up at 4,000 meters above sea level.
Now, we also have a 43101 compliant resource. Give us the details on that.
And the 43101 resource was completed in November 2016 as part of our listing requirements for the TSXV, and was undertaken by Roscoe Postle Associates of Toronto, who are an independent third-party specialist company that does a lot of resource estimation and due diligence work, particularly for banks and for other companies and so on. So that's a fairly comprehensive document, and you can find it either on CEDAR, or we've also posted it on our website for those people who might be interested to look at that. That report has indicated that there are some 27.7 million tons of indicated resources, grading at 91.2 grams per ton silver and 0.85 grams per ton gold, containing some 83 million ounces of silver and 755,000 ounces of gold, or if you want to cast it as gold equivalent, 1.9 million ounces of gold equivalent. And for those silver buffs, it's about 140 million ounces of silver. So you can see the quality of that resources is quite considerable, and it's worthwhile just reflecting on some of the resources and reserves from individual mines by some of the mid-tier silver companies, and you can see that Diablillos is up there in the top quartile of deposits in terms of its size.
So you can see for our subscribers, based on the value proposition here, we have a resource, the numbers are fascinating, and the market cap is not reflective of what we're discussing here today. Talk to us about the organic growth.
Well, most of the resources, in fact all the resources, and I talk only of indicated resources, because the indicated resources are all captured by a pit shell, right? So everything above the pit shell lies in the indicated resource category. There are some inferred resources, some of which lie below the pit shell. So at this moment in time, we don't really consider it, and we really only talk about the indicated resources, because those are the ones that are at this moment in time going to be available for mining. And I think it's important for you to understand that we're talking about indicated resource, not total resources. And the 1.9 million ounces gold equivalent refers to the indicated resources. Now, all of these resources are located in a single deposit which we call Oculto. We have been drilling off a satellite deposit 600 meters to the west of Oculto, and we have drilled off some additional resources, and the drilling has also indicated that those resources are structurally connected to Oculto. So that's quite interesting. Now, in addition to, and this satellite deposit is called Fantasma. Now, in addition to Fantasma, there's another 8 satellite deposits on the property. The property is large. It's some 8,000 hectares, or 80 square kilometers. So north-south it runs about 9 kilometers, and east-west it runs about 9 kilometers. So it's a fairly large property, and there are these other 8 satellite deposits in addition to Fantasma and Occulto. Now, many of these are much smaller than Occulto. Occulto seems by far to be the largest deposit, and most of those deposits have 1 or 2 drill holes in them. So we've intersected mineralization above cut-off grades and over minable widths in all of these satellite deposits. So the organic growth possibilities on the property are quite exceptional. Not only has Roscoe Postle and Associates, who did the original resource estimate in 2016, indicated that there is potential to increase the resource in the Occulto deposit because of the density of drilling. There's been a lot of drilling done on the property. There's been some 85,000 meters of drilling done in over 400 drill holes, and most of those are in the Occulto deposit. But nevertheless, when you want to move an indicated resource to a measured resource, which is the next step that we have to take, we have to increase the density of the drill holes. And Roscoe Postle has indicated in the report that there are opportunities where there are holes in the drill data to increase that. Moreover, we recently had our consulting geologist, who's an expert on epithermal and porphyry deposits. He spent 5 weeks on the property, re-logging some of the key holes, remapping many of the outcrops on the property, and he has identified a high-grade gold-rich zone at the bottom of the current pit shell, indicating considerable opportunity to have a gold-rich portion added to the silver-gold mix in the Occulto deposit. And here he has indicated that there's some zonation in the deposit. The feeder veins that lie underneath the deposit tend to be gold and copper rich. When you get into the bottom of the deposit, they tend to be gold rich. In the bulk of the deposit, they silver gold, and the top of the deposit, they silver rich. So he's indicated huge opportunity to really add significantly to the gold content of the deposit at the bottom of the deposit, but above the pit shell. So we're really quite excited about the organic growth potential, and we are pushing the Bleachers project through the various stages of feasibility. But at the same time, we're going to be doing a lot of drilling, both in the Occulto deposit as well as in the satellite deposits. So what you're going to see in the future, I believe, is that as we move from a preliminary economic assessment through to pre-feasibility study, through to the definitive feasibility study, is that you're going to start seeing not only the development aspect being progressed, but also an increase in the indicated resources from the property.
Well, the story just gets better and better. We're
pretty excited, and we certainly hope that we can get your listeners excited about this too.
Well, some mutual excitement here. What is the current status of the PEA?
Well, we've been working on the PEA since about September, and both Roscoe Postle and Associates, who are the lead consultants, they're looking after the mining aspects of it. So they're looking at the new pit design, the mine planning, the mine scheduling, and all aspects of bringing mineable material to the plant head. And then we've got GR Engineering from Perth, Western Australia, who's looking at the processing aspects of the PEA. They're looking at the design of the flow sheet, and they're looking at all the infrastructure that's required to support a plant there. That PEA is quite well advanced, and we're expecting it to come out late January, early February. So probably early February is probably a more conservative and more accurate estimate of when that's going to be ready.
Now, upon completion of the PEA, how aggressive will ABRAPLATA be on conducting a pre-feasibility and then conversely a feasibility study?
Well, first of all, this PEA is not going to be a stock standard PEA. It's actually a little bit more than a PEA, because Silver Standard Resources, the company that we acquired the project from, they had done quite a lot of work towards the PEA, a lot of the metallurgical test work. They drilled water wells, tested those. They've done a lot of geotechnical work. We've added to that with additional metallurgical test work, and done some more work on the infrastructure. So I think it's going to be a lot more than just an ordinary PEA. And that bodes well for being able to finish the pre-feasibility study, and we'll be sliding directly into that pre-feasibility study, which we hope will be completed in the third quarter of 2018. Then we'll go on to the definitive study, and we hope to have that finished a year later, in June, July 2019. And the reason why we want to get it done then is because our agreement with the Silver Standard requires that we make the next large payment to Silver Standard for the acquisition of the property in November 2019. So we'll have finished the definitive study by June, July 2019. So we're ready to make a decision to pay the $5 million, which is then due in November 2019.
Switching gears onto copper projects. Now, Willem, just alone what we've heard today is quite impressive and eye-opening. But ABRAPLATA has 3 blue sky copper projects. What can you share with us?
Well, we certainly are quite excited about those as well. They're not as advanced as Diablillos, and of course Diablillos is where it's taking most of our energy, both with respect to technical resources as well as financial resources. But we do have 3 copper, gold, moly projects as well. One of them, interesting enough, actually lies on the Diablillos property, and this is a copper gold dacite porphyry, where 2 drill holes have intersected values of 0.87 grams per ton over 31 meters in the carapace overlying the dacite porphyry, and good copper grades as you go in from the carapace into the dacite porphyry itself. So that's quite exciting. We've had quite a lot of interest from large base metal companies who've requested to look at signing confidentiality agreements with a view to seeing if they can assist with further development of that porphyry. Likewise, we've got the Cementa copper, moly, gold porphyry, which lies also in the Salta province, some 50 kilometers due south of the great Takataka porphyry deposit, which you might recall in 2014 was sold by Lumina Copper to First Quantum for $470 million US. So it's quite a considerable deposit that. It's got some 21 billion pounds of copper as a resource. And First Quantum is continuing with the feasibility study with a view to put it into production in the next 2 or 3 years. Cementa is also very close to the Rio Grande porphyry copper deposit of Regulus, as well as the Fortuna's Lindero copper gold project, which Lindero is currently finalizing their their feasibility with a view of putting that in production probably sometime next year. So that's in a good camp, and there are some drill holes in that property already. It's a cluster of two. It's got two specific and independent porphyry intrusions. Both are mineralized, both have got good geophysics, and some drill holes and trenches and surfaces indicated that that there is mineralized material above a cut-off grade and over mineral widths on the property. So our idea there is to do some deep penetrating geophysics, because Taka Taka was a fairly modest porphyry at surface, and was only when they did the deep drilling that they really intersected some really, really good numbers. And what we're hoping to be able to show is by doing the deep penetrating geophysics, using systems like Orion or those type of things, where you can look down over a kilometer, and then we're going to try and see if we can get a senior industry partner to come in and assist with the further development of that. But our most exciting porphyry project is the Cerro Amarillo project, which is in Mendoza province in west central Argentina. It lies in a camp of behemoth porphyry projects, I think typified by the El Teniente project and deposit in Chile. The El Teniente is the largest underground copper mine in the world, and in past production and current reserves, it's got 171 billion pounds of copper. It's enormous. It's really behemoth, not giant, not super giant, really behemoth. And we are in the same, our property is hosted by the same Neogean belt of volcanics, which also hosts El Teniente and the Los Bronces, and, Los Palambres, and the Altar deposit. They all have the same geological age, around about 6 to 7 million years in age, and the intrusions are very similar. Like all these other behemoth projects, properties, it's not a single porphyry project. We've actually got 5 individual porphyries on the project. The project area is 168 square kilometers, some 14 kilometers east-west and 12 kilometers north-south. Again, a fairly large property, and there's 5 individual porphyry intrusions on there. All of them got excellent geochem at surface. We've mapped copper mineralization at surface on 4 of them, and we've done geophysics on 2 of them, which indicate that there's chargeable material lying below copper mineralization mapped at surface. So that one is ready to drill. And again, as a small company, we don't have the financial wherewithal to be able to do justice to a property that's got 5 porphyries on it. And so we're looking for a senior partner to assist with that.
And that really sticks with the theme here of unlocking mineral value in Argentina. Let me ask you this for clarification. Are there any reversionary interests on these projects?
No, we have rights to 100% of these properties. In the case of Diablillos, we acquired that from Silver Standard for payments of $15 million spread over 5 years. As I mentioned earlier on, we have a $5 million payment due in November 2019, or at bankable document, wherever comes first. And we have our final payment of $7 million due at start of construction, or June or November 2021, whichever comes first. With Cementa, we have access to the mineral rights through an option agreement with the underlying owners, and likewise with Cerro Amarillo.
Now, is the goal here to build a full production mine on these projects, or are we looking for arbitrage?
Well, our expertise and our experience is more in the exploration and development side. And I suspect that we would look for a mid-tier company who has got a track record of mining, particularly in Latin America, to see if we would not combine with one of those companies at the time when it comes to put these projects into production.
All right. Looking at your capital expenditures, talk to us about infrastructure on these projects.
Well, of course, I think the one that's most relevant is Diablillos. I've mentioned some of the infrastructure aspects for Diablillos. I think the most important thing is that energy seems to be not a problem because we've got that gas pipeline with a tee-off allocated to Diablillos. There's a good network of roads there. So the standard drilled a number of water wells, and Knight Pisold, who did the test work on those, pumping tests and so on, they've indicated that the water from the groundwater resources are sufficient in quantity and quality to support mining operations on the property. And then I think the final, most important aspect for development of mining operations there is the terrain. Despite the fact that we're up at 4,000 meters, the terrain is relatively benign, and there's plenty of space to put tailings storage facilities, waste dumps, plant, and a mining camp. Knight Pisold in the past has done compaction tests in some of these areas, and we know that the soils and are going to be able to support tailings storage facilities and waste dumps, and of course there's plenty of flat area where we can put the processing facilities down. So I think that those three important aspects of mine development are give us a good feeling of comfort, and I think that your listeners will be able to see that in the PEA when that comes out in early February.
I have a off-balance sheet question here for you. How about community relations?
Eugenio Ponte, who's our senior VP, he specializes in community relations, and he does all not only the community relations but also the government relations for us. Eugenio is an Argentine national. He's been in the mining business for over 20 years. He's managed mining operations in Jujuy, the province to the north of Salta, and he's done a lot of work in Peru, where in difficult areas with indigenous tribes, and has managed always to get the permits for operating there, as well as actually being invited onto some tribal lands to look at exploration. So we're lucky that we've got both the people who are experienced with community relations, but importantly, in Salta province, up in the Puna, there are very few communities because it's fairly remote and up high, and those communities that do exist there are largely employed in the mining industry, particularly in the borate operations and the lithium operations. So I don't see that we're going to have any problems whatsoever with respect to community relations.
We've covered the latent material on the ground. Let's discuss what I consider the most important aspect, and that is the people. Who is on your board of directors, and what makes them qualified for the task at hand?
Let's start with the chairman, Anand Sabaja. He's an Argentine national. He's also one of the top mining lawyers in Argentina, and he served on the local boards of such companies as Barrick, Pan American Silver. He's done work for most of the majors and just about all the juniors that have passed through here. Silver Standard, Troy Resources, you name it. He's just been working on that. He was also the director who was able to solve the problem that vexed Silver Standard for so many years, and that was the overlapping mineral rights owners in Diablillos, which was solved in August this year, as you can probably read in one of our press releases from that time. So we're very fortunate to have Hernan as chairman. He works, he's executive chairman, so he actually spends a lot of time working directly for the company. We're also lucky to have people like Dave Doherty, who's a well-known personality in the financial community out of Vancouver. And Dave was responsible for raising the RTO money of some $3.8 million in April this year. Dave's recently raised about $75 million for various other companies. So I think we enjoy the ability to have someone like Dave who has the ability to raise money for us. John de Koeman is the Silver Standard representative on our board. Silver Standard owns 19.9% of the company as part of the acquisition of Diablillos. And so he is Vice President of Business Development for Silver Standard. And we're getting a lot of support from Silver Standard, so we're very happy to have John on board. We have Eduardo Perlitz from Miami in the United States, who also sits on our board. Eduardo is a well-known mineral property broker. He's brokered a number of mineral properties in Mexico and many countries in South America. Many of those deposits are now being mined, so it's good to have him on the board as well.
Tell us about Willem Fuchter, the CEO. What unique skill sets does he bring to the table?
I'm a geologist by training. I grew up in Africa. My father was a geologist, and so I grew up in mining camps and exploration tented villages in Africa. And so perhaps not surprising that in the end the lifestyle was particularly attractive to me, and so I ended up doing geology as well. My father worked for many companies, one of them which was Falconbridge Gold, and his advice was for me to at least go and do some studies in Canada. He felt that Canadians weren't necessarily the best geologists in the world. They certainly were very good explorers. I took his advice and I did my master's and PhD in Canada, and I certainly have to agree with him that Canadians certainly are talented explorationists, and I've been fortunate to work, do a considerable amount of work in Canada, and have appropriate some of their exploration methodologies, if you will. I'm also lucky that I've worked in Africa, in Asia, Europe, the Middle East, and have been able to visit many visit and work on many deposits. And I think this gives you certainly the ability to look at geological data and see things in different environments and saying, wow, I've seen that before, that's something we've got to chase. So I consider that very fortunate that I've been able to have that experience.
You mentioned you've been a world traveler, I would say. Talk to us about what languages do you speak as well?
Well, I'm actually Dutch by origin, so obviously I speak Dutch. Dutch is very similar to Afrikaans, so I spoke Afrikaans in Africa. Of course, I've been living here in Argentina for close on over 15 years, and so I've added Spanish to that. And I'm afraid I'm kind of exhausted when it comes to other. I worked for a while in China, but was not able to pick up Chinese except for a few words.
Well, we won't hold that against you. Now, should something happen to you in your absence, who will lead the company?
Oh, I think that we've got a very competent team of local geologists as well as international consultants. We've been working together, both the people in the company as well as the consultants that we use for the last 10, 15 years in various other companies on various projects throughout the world. So I have no doubt that my colleagues, Nana and Eugenio, and the rest of the board will competently be able to carry on without me.
What about your technical team? Tell us about them.
Well, I've mentioned Nick Tate and the work that he's done in the past with us, in particular the 5 weeks he spent recently at Diablillos remapping and relogging. Nick Tate is an Australian. We've been working together since 2007, and he's worked with us in a lot of countries in South America, in Ecuador, in Peru, here in Argentina. He in fact discovered 3 of the porphyries on our Cerro Amarillo deposit. Only 2 were known to us at the time, and his mapping, boot leather and hammer skills brought in another 3 porphyries. He's the one that's identified the deep gold zone at Diablillos, and he's put together a geological technical narrative that really holds together well for Diablillos. And so he spends a lot of time coming. He comes here 2 or 3 times a year. On the locally, we have Jose Antonio Cires, who I first met in Ecuador when I was working there, and he and I have been working together since then. He's highly skilled GIS operator, so he's basically our manager of all the data, but has considerable field experience, and he organizes and arranges all the setups in our various projects. We then parachute in local geologists and international expert whenever we need them, from wherever they come, and that's really how we carry out our exploration and development work.
Let's get into some numbers here. Talk to us about the current share structure.
Well, a snapshot of the company at this time is as follows. We've got about 65 million shares outstanding. On top of that, we've got about 1.2 million warrants out, and 2.3 million options. The options are exercised with 63 cents, so they're underwater at this moment in time. And the 1.2 million warrants are between 25 cents and 60 cents. Our major shareholders, insiders if you will, are almost 40% of the company. Silver Standard owns 19.9%. Management owns 12.3%. And then there's a fund out of Los Angeles and California, Genorica, which owns 7.4% of the company. We're currently trading around about 24, 25 cents Canadian. and so it gives us a market cap of somewhere between 15 and 16 million dollars. We have absolutely no debt at this moment in time.
It's always fun to hear that there's no debt, so you're good stewards of capital. Talk to us about your burn rate.
Well, our standstill burn rate is about $120,000 a month, right? So that's because we've got operations here in Argentina, but we also have got a very modest office in Vancouver. That standstill rate does include our IR and marketing aspects, because we pay a lot of attention to that. We know that it's important for us to get our message out there so that people can see the opportunity that exists in the company.
What are the change of control fees?
There are no change of control fees. I mean, we don't have any poison pills or anything like that out. If a company considers that we're worth the money and they make a good bid to the shareholders, we're always very open to look at what's best for the shareholders.
Now, when was the last time you purchased shares, and at what price?
Well, I'm co-founder of the company. We've been working on this for many years, and we've been funding the company over all those years with our personal funds. And as a consequence, I do own a fair amount of shares in the company, and as you could see, management owns nearly 12% of the company. We're going to be doing a private placement quite soon because we're getting low on funds, and I'm certainly going to be participating at that. And I think that we're probably going to come out at around about 20 cents on that. So I'll be acquiring additional shares at 20 cents.
Multi-layered question here. What is the next unanswered question for ABRAPLATA? When should we expect results? And what determines success?
Well, I think that what's going to really kickstart are the results from the PEA. We've been working on the results, and they're not finalized, and of course I cannot disclose them at the moment. Suffice to say that I think people are going to be pleasantly surprised with that. It's certainly a really good deposit. It's in a good jurisdiction. It's technically a quality project, and size-wise, it's really quite considerable. So it's not something that maybe Barrick would get interested, but certainly I think a lot of the silver companies are going to get quite excited about this one once we come out with the PEA. So I think that PEA is probably the next milestone that is going to be meaningful. In the meantime, when we raise the money, we're going to be allocating that not only to finalizing the PEA and moving that through PFS, but we want to do all this drilling for the deep gold zone, the infill drilling to add to the resources in Oculto, and then drill off all these satellite deposits, which are quite small. So it's gonna take some drilling, but it's not going to be too onerous. And we're hoping to do that simultaneously in a twin track approach in the next 18 months to 2 years as we bring this thing to definitive study. So you'll see the PEA come out with a certain indicated resource. Then hopefully the PFS is going to come out with a larger indicated resource, and finally the full feasibility study.
Willem, what keeps you up at night that I forgot to ask?
Well, what keeps me up at night? We brought a lot of people into the company, and a lot of people believe in us and believe in the narrative, Really think that this is a great opportunity. So we have a lot of responsibility to those people, as well as to any new shareholder, to make sure that we're adding value all the time. And it never goes in straight lines. There's always ups and downs. And so you can imagine when it's a little bit down, it certainly that keeps me up at night. But we have a lot of faith, and we're lucky to have a number of shareholders that similarly have that faith, that this is going to be a very well worth an endeavor.
You know, you alluded to financing here. Can you share with us the financing details?
Well, what we want to do a large financing on the back of the PEA, right? And that's going to come out in sometime in early February, and we want to try and raise $5 million on that. And the reason, $5 million US, or approximately 6.5 million Canadian. And the reason we want to do that is because, as part of our agreement with Silver Standard, their 19.9% vests after what's called in the agreement a qualifying financing of $5 million US or more. So every time we do a smaller financing, then we have to top up Silver Standard to 19.9%. Once we do a qualifying financing, then Silver Standard either dilutes or has to pay, has the right to maintain their 19.9%. So that's an important step, and we want to do that on the back of the PEA, because we think the PEA is going to give a lot of confidence to people when they see that the extremely robust economics of this project.
And this financing, we want to make sure that our listeners are well aware this is for accredited investors. Willem, for someone listening that wants to get more information about ABRAPLATA Resource Corp and the financing, please share the website and the contact details.
Our website number is quite simple. It's www.abraplata.com. And Rob Bruggeman, our investor relations person, can be accessed at rob@abraplata.com, or his phone number is +1 416 884 3556.
And last but not least, please visit our website, www.provenandprobable.com, where we interview the most respected names in the natural resource space. You may reach us at contact@provenandprobable.com. Willem Fuchter of ABRAPLATA Resource Corp., thank you for joining us today on Proven and Probable.
Thank you for joining us today on Proven and Probable. Remember to like and subscribe for more conversations with the most respected names in the natural resource space. Check out our website at www.provenandprobable.com. The information presented on Proven and Probable is provided for educational and informational purposes only, without any express or implied warranty of any kind, including warranties of accuracy, completeness, or fitness for any particular purpose. The information is not intended to be and does not constitute financial, investment, or trading advice, or any other advice. You should not make any financial, investment, or trading decision based on any of the information presented without first undertaking independent due diligence and consultation with a professional broker or competent financial advisor.